The Awakening. The cryopod hissed softly. Cold steam poured out from the edges. Inside, a man slowly opened his eyes. John Carter blinked, his vision blurry. His body felt heavy like stone. He had been asleep for a long time. 30 years. That's what the mission log said before he entered cryosleep. But something was wrong. The pod was not in the Earth spaceship anymore. The walls were not metal. They were soft, glowing blue, like some kind of crystal cave. John tried to move. His arms were weak, but he pushed himself up. The air smelled sweet, almost like flowers. Birds chirped softly outside, but they didn't sound like Earth birds. He stepped out barefoot, dizzy, confused. His cryosuit was damaged. Half of it was torn. He looked around. Then he heard voices. Soft. Singing. Laughing. And then they appeared. Tall women with glowing skin and bright silver eyes stood before him. Their hair was long and flowed like silk. Their clothes were made from something that shimmered like light. They weren't human. Not fully. One stepped forward. Her face was calm. Beautiful. Too perfect. She tilted her head and said, "You are awake." John froze. She spoke English. Clear English. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice cracked. "We are the Denari," she said. "And you are the male." The other women giggled softly behind her. They looked at John with wide eyes, like he was some rare creature. John looked around, stunned. "Where's the rest of my crew, my ship?" The woman walked closer. "You were the only one we found in the ruins." Ruins. John's heart sank. Had the ship crashed? What happened? "Where am I?" he asked. "You are safe," she answered. "You are on Varela, our world." John had never heard that name before. He tried to remember his mission details, but his head throbbed. They led him away gently, their hands soft and cold. He didn't resist. He had too many questions, and his legs were too weak. They took him to a strange village. Everything looked clean, peaceful, yet alien. The buildings were made of glass like stone and vines. The sky above had two suns. One was orange, the other pale blue. There were no men. None. John noticed it quickly. Every face he passed was female, some old, most young, and all of them stunning. They all stared at him like he was a legend. They took him to a round structure with soft cushions and glowing walls. He sat down. One of the women brought a silver bowl of water. Another gently wiped dirt from his face. John didn't know what to say. He had trained for many missions. He had seen strange things, but nothing like this. "Why am I the only man here?" he asked quietly. The lead woman knelt beside him. "Because you are the last," she said. He looked at her sharply. "The last of what?" "The last male," she said, her silver eyes calm. John's heart skipped. "You mean there are no men here at all?" She nodded. "For many years. Our kind lost the ability to create males long ago." He swallowed hard. "Then, what do you want from me?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out and touched his face softly, like he was something fragile. "We want to protect you," she said. "You are rare. You are precious." John stood up slowly, unsure of what to believe. "I don't want to be part of some breeding program," he said, backing away. The woman smiled gently. "No, you will choose. But rest now. Tonight our queen wishes to see you." "Your queen?" he asked. "She has waited a long time," the woman said. John sat back, down, his head spinning. He stared out at the village beyond the crystal doorway. The women moved with grace, eyes always glancing back at him. Some smiled, some looked shy, others curious. He wasn't just a visitor here. He was something more. A piece of a plan, or maybe a prisoner in paradise. As the two suns began to set, the sky turned a deep violet. Stars blinked above, unfamiliar and sharp. Somewhere in the distance a horn blew, soft and low. The woman returned. She placed a warm, silky robe around his shoulders. "The queen is ready," she whispered. John stood up, still dizzy, still unsure. But one thing was clear. Whatever had happened during those 30 years of sleep, he had not woken up on the same earth. He had woken up in a world of beautiful, alien women, and he had no idea what they truly wanted from him. John followed. The glowing path, his bare feet touching soft ground that felt like velvet. The robe they had given him flowed behind him, light as air. Strange flowers glowed along the trail. Their petals opened as he walked past, like they were reacting to him. The alien woman beside him said nothing, but her silver eyes kept watching him, studying him. John tried to stay calm, but his heart beat faster with every step. He had woken up on a strange planet. He was alone. No humans. No ship. Just beautiful alien women who acted like he was something sacred. They reached the village. It was quiet. No machines. No sound of engines. Just soft wind and glowing lights. The buildings were shaped like shells or wings, natural and elegant. Vines climbed the walls and soft blue light came from inside. Women were everywhere, dozens of them. Walking, talking, laughing. But when they saw John, everything stopped. They turned, they stared, and then they smiled. Some bowed. Others whispered to each other behind their hands. One even clapped softly, like seeing a hero from a dream. John felt like he was walking into a painting, beautiful, perfect, and completely wrong. He whispered, "Why are they looking at me like that?" The woman beside him, her name was Lyra, answered quietly. "Most of them have never seen a male before, only heard stories. You are the first, in generations." He stopped walking. "That doesn't make sense. Your race. How do you survive?" Lyra looked away for a moment. "The old way failed long ago. Now we use preserved life seeds, stolen DNA, cloning, and science. But none of it gives us true balance. True birth. Our people are slowly fading." She turned back to him, her eyes soft. "But then you arrived." John didn't know what to say. He was just a man. A mechanic on a deep space exploration ship. He wasn't special. He wasn't a leader or a hero. But to them, he was everything. Lyra guided him to a large round building in the center of the village. Inside, the floor was soft, the air warmer. There were no beds or chairs, just soft resting nests made of glowing feathers and vines. She pointed to one. "Rest here. The queen will call for you when ready." John sat down slowly. His eyes scanned the space. No locks, no guards. But somehow, it felt like a prison, a beautiful one. Soon, others entered. 3 young alien women, each carrying gifts. One brought a bowl of sweet fruit, another held a smooth, folded garment. The third knelt and began brushing his hair as if it were a ceremony. John pulled back. "You don't have to do that." The girl smiled shyly. "It is our honor. You are the first one. We must prepare you for the choosing." He frowned. "What choosing?" But they didn't answer. They only bowed and left. John stood and walked toward the opening in the wall. Outside, the sun had set. Now the sky was painted with 2 moons and 1,000 stars. Some stars moved, ships maybe, or something stranger. Suddenly, a voice spoke, behind him. "You don't belong here." He turned quickly. Another alien woman stood in the shadows. She looked different. Her robe was dark. Her eyes didn't shine like the others. There was something sharp in her stare. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Zura," she said. "And I was born to question everything." John raised a brow. "You don't sound like the others." "I'm not like them," she replied. "I've studied old Earth records. I've read about your kind. The truth is, you're not the first." His heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Zura stepped closer. Others came before you, from old wrecks, lost missions. Most were taken to the Queen. No one saw them again. John's throat felt dry. What happened to them? No one knows, she whispered. But I don't trust the smiles, and neither should you. Before he could ask more, Lyra returned. She looked at Zura coldly, then smiled at John. It is time. John followed again, this time more carefully. As they walked through the silent village, women lined the paths holding glowing lanterns. Their eyes were full of excitement. At the end of the trail stood a tall gate made of glass and silver vines. Behind it was the Queen's chamber. The doors opened without sound. John stepped inside. At the far end, sitting on a throne made of moonstone, was the Queen. She was taller, older, and more powerful than the others. Her hair was like starlight, her skin a soft gold. She stood, and as her eyes met his, she smiled. "We have waited for you," she said. John didn't move. He felt like he had walked into something ancient, something bigger than himself. He realized now, this wasn't a dream, it was a plan, and he was the key. John stood in the Queen's chamber, his heart pounding. The walls glowed with soft light. Strange symbols moved across the floor like living ink. The air was thick with perfume and something else. Power. The Queen took slow steps toward him. Her gown shimmered like liquid metal. A long golden braid rested over her shoulder, and her golden eyes locked onto his with strange warmth. "You are not what I expected," she said, her voice deep but kind. John kept his eyes on her. "I didn't expect this either. One minute I was in cryo sleep, next I'm in a world full of you." She smiled gently. "We are not a dream, John Carter. We are your future, and you are ours." Her words made his chest tighten. "Why do you keep saying that?" The Queen gestured, and 2 guards, still women armored in silver, closed the doors. Now they were alone. "You are the first complete male our world has seen in over 2 centuries, she said. "Our kind is strong. We have survived war, disease, even collapse. But without balance, we fade. Without males, we wither." John looked around. "But you've all survived. You built this place, you speak English, you have technology." The Queen's eyes darkened. "It is all borrowed, taken from what little was left of Earth's legacy. We saved what we could, but we cannot save ourselves forever." She stepped closer. "I offer you a place in our future, not as a prisoner, not as a pet, but as something more." John narrowed his eyes. "What do you want from me?" She reached out and gently touched his chest. "We want life, true life, born, not cloned. We want to return to what we lost. And you, John Carter, are the only hope left." John stepped back. "You want me to breed?" The Queen didn't flinch. "You say it like it's a crime. It's not, but I don't want to be used like an animal." The Queen turned and walked to her throne. "You misunderstand. This is not forced. We have waited too long for you. We will give you comfort, freedom, even power. But yes, in return, we ask you to help us restore what is dying." John stayed silent for a moment, thinking. Then he asked, "You said you've seen others. What happened to them?" The Queen paused. Her voice was soft. "Imperfect, sick, too broken to survive reawakening. You are the first who lived whole." That answer didn't satisfy him. Something about it felt hidden. She lifted her hand and a golden orb floated in. A screen opened midair. John saw a projection. Babies, children, all female. No men. None. At all. Then another image, an old document marked with Earth symbols. He read the title out loud. "Project Eden, Male Stasis Vault." The Queen nodded slowly. "Before Earth died, your people tried to create a future here. But war destroyed their dream. Only a few capsules were left, most lost underground. John realized something. You didn't just find me. You dug me up. The Queen smiled. Yes, and now we offer you everything we have. John crossed his arms. What if I say no? She looked at him calmly. Then you will still be our guest. No chains, no harm. But you will live alone, watched, protected, untouched. That word, untouched, sent a chill through him. I don't trust easy, he said, but I want answers, real ones. The Queen nodded. Then begin by trusting this. We have not harmed you and we won't. She clapped her hands once. A side door opened and Zura entered. The rebel girl with fierce eyes. John was shocked. You know her? She is one of my daughters, the Queen said. She doubts, she questions, I allow it. Zura stepped forward, her tone sharp. I still don't believe this is about love or survival. I think you want to control him. The Queen didn't react. Then let him decide. That is all I ask. Zura turned to John. Think before you agree. This world looks beautiful, but it hides more than you see. The Queen smiled again. You have until moonrise tomorrow. After that, the choosing begins. John looked between them. Two powerful women. One offering paradise. The other warning of a trap. He didn't know who to trust, but he knew one thing for sure. He was no longer just a visitor here. He was the prize. And in a world without men, that made him dangerous. The night was quiet in the alien village, but John Carter couldn't sleep. He sat near the crystal wall, watching the twin moons reflect off the sky vines above. The stars blinked in colors he had never seen before. Everything looked peaceful. But inside, his thoughts were storming. He had seen kindness from these women, beauty, grace, even gentle words. But there were questions they didn't answer. Smiles that seemed too perfect. And a queen who offered him paradise if he gave her what she wanted. But what if it was all a lie? A soft knock echoed on the smooth crystal door. Zura slipped inside. I knew you'd be awake, she whispered, holding a strange round object in her hand. Are you ready to see what they don't want you to know? John stood slowly. You said there were others before me. Dead? Lost? She nodded. The truth is deeper. The Queen controls the story. But I found something hidden under the archives. Old Earth tech. Let's go, John said. Zura led him through dark paths, beneath the village. The glowing vines above faded as they stepped deeper underground. Cracked tunnels stretched below the palace, abandoned and sealed off. No guards, no lights, just silence. Finally, they reached a thick door covered in dust. Symbols marked the metal. Earth, English. Zura touched a small device to the wall. The bow door buzzed, then hissed open. Inside was a room full of ancient Earth equipment. Monitors, hologram plates, broken comms. John's breath caught. This was a human science base. They found this long ago, Zura said, but they only took parts that helped them build their new world. The rest, they locked it up. John moved to a flickering screen. Does it work? Zura nodded. I powered it using stolen core energy. She tapped a command, and a hologram lit the room. A man appeared, gray-bearded, wearing an old Earth uniform. His voice crackled. Log entry 322, Dr. Adrian Morrow. Date, unknown. Project Eden has failed. We've preserved the last male DNA in cryopods. The women of Varela, they've mutated. Beautiful, yes, but unstable. They've turned our rescue into breeding control. If anyone finds this, do not trust the Queen. The message ended. John's mouth went dry. Another log appeared. This one showing cryo chambers like the one he woke up in. Dozens of them. Most cracked. Others filled. With dust, I knew it, John whispered. I wasn't the first, I was just the first to survive intact. Zura pointed to another file. It was a list. Male names, ages, status, expired. The word hit like a hammer. They used the others, John said slowly, until they couldn't anymore. Zura nodded. And now they want you. John backed away, breathing hard. This isn't about rebuilding life. It's about control. Zura placed a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone anymore. You know the truth. Why tell me all this? He asked. She looked at him seriously. Because I'm not like them. I don't want to see you locked in a golden cage. I want something different. Real choice. John clenched his fists. If they find out I know, they'll never let me leave. Zura's eyes narrowed. Then we don't give them the chance. They returned to the surface just before sunrise, but something was waiting for them. Lyra. She stood outside his room with 3 guards. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with disappointment. You left without permission, she said softly. Why? John stayed silent. Zura stepped forward. He wanted to see the truth, and I showed him. Lyra nodded. Then he has seen. Enough. The guards moved in, but John held up a hand. No, I'm not your tool. I'm not your savior. I'm a human being, and I choose what happens to me. Lyra looked at him for a long time. Then her voice turned cold. Then you will come before the Queen. One last time. That night, as the moons rose again, John stood in the royal chamber. The Queen sat high, her face unreadable. She already knew. You looked where you shouldn't, she said. John didn't flinch. I found what you hid, the others, the real plan. The Queen nodded slowly. Yes, and now you have a choice. Stay and help us willingly, or leave and live in silence. Zura stepped forward. He deserves freedom. The Queen looked at her, eyes hard. And what will happen to our people if we lose our only chance at life? John raised his voice. You don't need to force me. You just need to trust me, but you lied. You let the others die. A long silence filled the room. Then the Queen whispered, Then show me what you would do differently, human. John knew. The game had changed. He wasn't just their guest anymore. He was the only one who knew the truth, and maybe the only one who could fix what was broken. The wind howled across the glass hills of Varela as John ran through the glowing forest, his breath sharp in the cold air. Behind him, lights moved through the trees, lanterns carried by guards. They weren't shouting. They didn't need to. They knew the forest. They knew he couldn't run far. But John ran anyway. He clutched a small disk in his palm, a stolen data core from the underground lab Zura had shown him. Inside it was everything. The truth about the failed experiments, the dead men, and the Queen's hidden plan to control him. He had seen enough. Now, he needed to disappear. 6 hours earlier, the Queen had smiled too calmly after John spoke the truth. Her golden eyes didn't flare. Her voice didn't rise. That was what made it worse. You wish for freedom, she had said. Very well. You are free to walk the forest until the moons rise. Then you will return. If you do not, we will come for you. Zura had grabbed John's arm as they left the chamber. You can't stay here. You have to run. And leave you behind, he asked. She looked down. I was born here. But you, your hope, real hope. John didn't argue. They made a plan. When the guards changed shift, Zura would cause a fire in the Nectar Towers, just enough to draw attention. While they scrambled to stop it, John would slip out through the southern gate. She gave him a map carved on a stone tablet and a small translator crystal embedded with coordinates. Follow the path, she whispered, until you reach the cliffs. There's an old human landing beacon buried there. If it still works, you can call for help. He nodded. Take this too, she added, slipping a kiss to his cheek. For luck. Now John ducked behind a wide tree with bark like liquid silver. His body ached. The robe they gave him was torn. His feet bled, but he couldn't stop. The ground sloped upward. The cliffs were close. Then, a soft voice. Stop running. John spun around. It was Lyra, alone. Her face was shadowed, her robe torn from the chaos of the fire. Her eyes, once warm, were now hollow. You betrayed her, she whispered. You betrayed us. John backed away. I never asked for any of this. You never told me the truth. You were never meant to know the truth, Lyra said. We needed you to trust us, to love us. But now you've broken the Queen's heart, and mine. He looked at her with confusion. Yours? Lyra stepped closer. I was supposed to be the first to bond with you. The Queen chose me, but Zura, she stole that chance, she stole you. John's stomach turned. This was never about me. It was about power. No, she said quietly. It was about survival. And now, it's about revenge. From behind the trees, 4 guards stepped out, weapons drawn, not blasters, but vine-like lassos that pulsed with electric light. John looked up at the cliff just ahead, less than 50 feet. He could make it. Maybe. He ran. They followed. The first lasso missed. The second hit a tree. The third wrapped around his ankle, but he kicked it off. Pain screamed through his body, but he climbed, hand over hand, digging into soft rock, fingers, bleeding, heart pounding until he reached the top. There, half buried in moss, was a metal spike with the Earth emblem still visible. The beacon. He slammed the crystal Zura gave him into the port. Nothing happened. No, no, no. He gasped, slamming it again, then a flicker. A light blinked red, then blue. Beacon activated. Signal outbound. John fell to his knees, but behind him, a soft sound. He turned. Lyra stood at the edge of the cliff, weapon lowered. The guards were nowhere in sight. I told them I'd bring you back, she said. But I came alone. John didn't move. Why? She stepped forward. Because even now, I still want you to choose me. He looked at her, broken, breathless. You want love, but you've never offered freedom. Lyra's hands trembled. Then she dropped her weapon and turned away. Go, she whispered. Before I change my mind. John stared into the sky, the beacon signal now pulsing. He didn't know if Earth would answer. He didn't even know if Earth still existed, but he knew this. He was done being their treasure, and from now on, he would fight for his own future. Even in a world full of beauty, lies can bloom in the brightest flowers. The village was quiet, too quiet. The fire from the nectar towers had been put out. The guards had returned. The forest was sealed. But something had changed in the air. It wasn't peace. It was the silence before something big. The bonding ceremony. John Carter sat in the center of a wide stone circle carved deep into the earth, lit by floating lights and moonfire candles. He wore a robe of silver thread stitched by hand. His wounds had been cleaned. His face had been painted with ancient symbols. But his heart was screaming. He didn't want this. He didn't trust them. And yet, they had brought him back gently. No chains, no pain, just one word. Tonight. Hours earlier, after he activated the beacon on the cliffs, Lyra had let him go. But he had nowhere to run. The forest was sealed. The beacon signal needed time. So he came back. Not because he surrendered, because he wanted to face them. He walked into the Queen's chamber on his own. Guards stepped aside. The Queen waited in silence, seated on a throne made from glass bones. Her crown had changed. Now it glowed with red light. Her expression wasn't soft anymore. You returned, she said simply. John nodded. You were never going to let me leave, were you? I would have, she replied. But I knew you'd come back. You belong here now. John took a step forward. If I belong, then let me speak freely. The Queen nodded. Speak. I saw the death records, the lab, the secrets, the other men. Her face didn't move. I know the truth, John said. You didn't just wait for a male. You created a trap, A world too perfect to say no to. You called it a gift, but it's a cage. The Queen stood slowly. And yet here you are, breathing, alive. We harmed none of you. Because none survived, he snapped. Until me. She looked at him quietly. That is why tonight is the last bonding ceremony. It ends with you. Now, in the center of the ceremonial ring, women gathered around in long flowing dresses, their eyes glowing. They sang in a strange language. The stars above seemed to listen. Drums started, slow, heavy. Then the Queen appeared, wearing no crown now. Her hair was down. Her robe was dark, woven with night-colored gems. She looked like something from a dream, or a warning. Lyra stood beside her, so did Zura, both silent. John stood as the Queen approached him. Tonight we complete the cycle, she said. You will bond with me, and our people will begin again. John looked at the crowd. Hundreds of alien women watched him, hoping, dreaming, worshipping. But he saw no freedom in their eyes, only expectation. He turned to Zura. Her eyes told him everything. Choose. The Queen raised a glowing thread, thin like a hair but pulsing with energy. With this we mark your soul. John raised his hand and stopped her. No, a gasp moved through the crowd like a wave. The Queen narrowed her eyes. You refuse? John stepped back. Yes, because I will not be a symbol, not a weapon, not a prize. But we gave you everything, the Queen whispered. No, John said. You gave me comfort in exchange for control. He turned to the women. You don't need one man to save you. You need the truth, the choice. Let those who wish to bond choose it, not be forced. A long silence followed. Then Zura stepped forward. I choose, she said, but not for the Queen. I choose to walk beside him. Lyra stepped forward too. I choose nothing, she said, because I was never given a choice. I only followed a path laid by others. The Queen looked down. Then she dropped the thread and stepped back. The drums stopped. The lights faded. I see now, the Queen said softly. We were trying to rebuild the past, but we were killing the future. She turned to her people. No, more bondings, no more forced destinies. If we are to survive, we do so together, free. Later that night, the village remained silent, but it was a new kind of silence. Peaceful, honest. John stood by Zura near the ancient beacon. A light blinked in the sky. Blue, then red, then a ship. It wasn't alien, it was human. Old Earth markings. A rescue signal responding at last. Zura looked up. You're going back? John took her hand. Only if you come with me. She smiled. The Queen, watching from the cliffs above, said nothing, but a tear rolled down her cheek. Not from loss, from release. John Carter had awakened in a world of beauty, mystery, and lies, but now it wasn't just alien women who had a future, it was all of them. Together, the rescue ship hovered like a silver moon in the sky. Its engines hummed softly as it lowered onto the crystal landing pad outside the alien village. The humans who stepped out wore faded Earth uniforms, patched, dusty, old, but still marked, with the blue and white crest of the United Terran Expeditionary Corps. John Carter stood with Zura at his side. The village women gathered behind them, silent but calm. No more whispers, no more stares, just a quiet curiosity about what was coming next. The lead human officer stepped forward, an older woman with a sharp gaze. Her eyes scanned John with disbelief. You're alive? She asked. John nodded. 30 years in Cryo, I just woke up a few days ago. She looked past him at the alien women. And they didn't kill you? No, John said. They saved me, and nearly turned me into a god. They sat together under the vine dome, where the Queen herself offered tea and peace. John told the rescue crew everything, about the crash, the village, the hidden records, the lost men, the Queen's plans, and the final ceremony. When he finished, the officer sat back and exhaled. Earth never received your signal. We only found the beacon by chance during a sweep for lost colonies. John asked, "What's left of Earth?" The woman hesitated. Still breathing, still broken. Some cities, some farms, but no magic. Zura, who had stayed silent until now, looked up. Then maybe it's time Earth and Varela share something real, not just pain. 1 week later, the Queen stepped down from her throne. No guards, no crown. Just her, barefoot in the garden where vines grew tall. John met her there, surprised to see her without her usual shine. "I want you to take Zura," she said softly. He shook his head. "Only if she chooses it, I won't take anyone." "She has already chosen," the Queen said. "She believes in your world. I believe in hers." They sat together in the garden, not as ruler and outsider, but as two people who had made mistakes and learned from them. "I don't hate you," John said. "I don't blame you," the Queen replied. Departure day. The ship was ready. John stood at the ramp. Zura held a small pack on her shoulder, filled with crystal seeds, old books, and a star map drawn by hand. Lyra approached them, quiet and unsure. John turned to her. "You never got to choose." Lyra smiled a little. "Now I do. I'm staying. But this time not because I was told to." She stepped forward and hugged him tightly. "Tell your world, we're not monsters. We're just trying to survive." "I will," John promised. Then Lyra turned to Zura. "Go show them we're more than pretty faces and broken plans." Zura nodded. They boarded the ship. In orbit, John stared out the window as the planet shrank behind them. Varela, a world of beauty and secrets, of danger and hope. He had arrived as a relic from the past, but he was leaving as something else, a bridge between worlds. Beside him, Zura studied the stars, studied the, "You really think your people will accept me?" John smiled. "You're stronger than any of them. If they don't, that's their problem." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I don't want to be worshipped. I just want to be seen." "You will be," John whispered. The ship jumped into light speed and the stars became rivers of fire. 6 months later, Earth children laughed in a rebuilt village under a clear sky. Zura walked through the garden with glowing vines now growing in the soil of Earth. The same seeds she brought from Varela had taken root. Beside her, John repaired a solar panel with a wrench and a grin. The village had humans, aliens, both, together. The Queen had sent more envoys. Peace had grown, not from power, but from truth. One little girl tugged on John's coat. "Is it true you came from a planet of space princesses?" John laughed. "Kinda, but they don't like that word." Zura added, "We prefer warrior queens." Everyone laughed. That night John stood under the stars, now familiar again. Zura joined him, her long hair blowing in the wind. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "The village? The moons?" He shook his head. "Not really, because I didn't leave it behind." She smiled. "You brought it with you." He took her hand. "Together we brought something better." She looked up at the stars. "Then let's never stop building." And they didn't. He woke up in a world of alien beauty and lies, but found truth, love, and a second chance. Not just for himself, but for two worlds that had forgotten how to trust.